Okay, so tell me how you ended up seeing me.
So I was referred to you from my psychiatrist, um, and I was seeing a psychiatrist because I was suffering with extremely bad anxiety and panic attacks, to the point where I was fainting. And I was referred to the psychiatrist because I was unable to leave my house due to the anxiety for roughly 3 weeks. So my psychiatrist referred me to yourself. Um, and it was honestly the best decision ever.
Tell me what was the worst thing about the anxiety? What's it like having anxiety? So I'm trying to tell my colleagues and patients what it's like to suffer from anxiety.
So, to me, a lot of people get anxiety and nervousness mixed up. A lot of people seem to think that it's very similar, but to me, it's not at all. So, nerves to me is obviously like you're a little bit nervous, but anxiety and the level of anxiety that I had was just pure terror 24/7. It's the best way I can describe it. It's as though it's as though you are just you've got pure terror from everything and anything, no matter how logical or illogical it is. Um, and it's like your whole body just wants to shut down. It's like you mentally want to shut down. And yeah, it's terrible. So the best way I can describe the feeling is that split second before you have a car accident, the massive rush, and it's just that split second. It's like that feeling 24/7.
So do you vomit with it? Do you throw up with it? Do you get
So I
tingly?
so I felt nauseated pretty much 90% of the day. I didn't throw up, but I felt nauseated. Uh, my legs would feel like almost like pins and needles, but to the point where they would feel like I couldn't even move them. And then I would just get rushes where it felt like all the blood would drain from my head.
And then you couldn't focus because that's when I first met you.
That's right, yeah. And then it even got that bad where, like I said, I would pass out from it, and it would happen in a split second. It would happen anywhere. Doesn't
And
matter if I was at home, at work,
or in that plane.
or in the plane. Yep, passed out in the plane, even though I've always flown my whole life. Never had a problem with flying for some reason. I had an anxiety attack, and this is what I mean when I say illogical. I had an anxiety attack about feeling sick on the plane. So to me, that's just illogical because if you feel sick feeling sick on a plane isn't uncommon. But because you have anxiety, because you can't think rationally, something like that, then drove me so rapidly when I got on the plane that I ended up passing out from it.
And you were stretchered out, weren't you?
Yeah,
Yeah. And so let's come back to then. Dr. Ryan suggested you come and see me, but what I do is gut health.
yeah,
And the link between gut health and brain health is what you've experienced. So when I first met you, I asked you about stomach pains and how your gut was, and you said you had lots of stomach pains, and every time
yeah,
you ate, you would bloat. And if you drink water, you'd have gut pains. You weren't sleeping, and you ended up putting on a lot of weight.
yep.
Had any food cravings then?
Since then,
No, when I first met you.
Oh yeah, I had food cravings every day.
What were you craving?
In all honesty, I was just craving junk food. Um, I would crave junk food if I didn't have something decent to eat. Then I would occasionally crave maybe a salad. But I was eating poorly. I was having 3 or 4 cans of soft drink a day. I was having because of my work. I work long hours, so making my food for the next day happened very rarely. So then I would just go out and get some fast food, eat something quick at work. So my cravings were definitely sugar and fast food.
So then we analyzed your gut bacteria.
Yeah,
And can I share your gut bacteria story?
yeah,
Okay. So we then looked at it. Remember, I said there were 2 types of gut bacteria. So the first type came back, and you had a high percentage of this guy's called Enterococcus. If you remember,
yeah,
I said that in terms of numbers, should be less than 10 to the 5, and you were 10 to the 6. And we
yeah,
talked about how and what they did and kind of revved you up. But then on top of that, too, was that you had nothing of this group of gut bacteria.
yeah,
And then, so I'll stop sharing. And then we started you on a program.
yeah.
And then your psychiatrist wasn't happy with the initial program. Tell me what that was like when we started you on the initial program and what you were eating. Did it make your anxiety worse or better or no change?
So the original food program, there wasn't much of a change during the day. It was a little bit, but the most change that I experienced was I had heightened anxiety in the mornings.
Okay.
My anxiety when I first woke up was bad enough for me to contemplate not going to work.
Yeah, you couldn't get out the door in under 2 hours was initially.
Yeah,
And then, so if I can screen share, because then your psychiatrist rang me up and said, we need to review your whole program.
yeah,
And so let's have a look at your blood tests. Yeah. So that was when your psychiatrist rang up and was really concerned about your, um, especially your liver tests, because they all went up from normal.
yeah.
And in particular, this one called gamma GT, which shot up to 56. Now, when you go and see most of us as GPs, what happens when you have a high gamma GT is we look at you and go, are you drinking any alcohol?
Hmm, hmm.
And you weren't, were you?
No, I haven't had alcohol for 7 years.
Yeah, so we switched you straight after this set of blood tests. We switched I'll jump out of this. We switch your eating, and then when we switched your eating, I'm not going to talk at length about this because this is another lecture. What happened within 2 weeks for you?
In all honesty, the anxiety went down. My levels all came down. Overall, physically, I was feeling so much better. In all honesty, within about 2 weeks.
Yep. So if we looked again at your blood tests, so this level of gamma GT, which was the alcohol, dropped and it stayed down, and all the other guys came back to normal. Right. And
Yeah,
then this we talked about needing to drink more water to flush it out.
yeah.
And then there's a whole lot of other parameters which are for other lectures to talk about. So tell me now, how are you feeling?
I I feel like a completely different person.
What's it
To be
like?
to be honest, I genuinely never thought I was in a state where I didn't think I would live without anxiety. Um, and now, don't get me wrong, I still feel nervous with things, but I don't have. I can honestly say I don't suffer from anxiety. Um, it's honest. It's blown my mind. I recommend it to everybody that I speak to about it.
Okay, this is not a sell program, but
I
yeah.
know it's not. I'm not trying to oversell it, but it not, seriously, I've tried four different types of anxiety meds. I've tried psychotherapists, psychologists, psychiatrists. I tried exercising more. I've tried exercising less. I honestly tried everything, but this is the only thing now. I wake up in the morning. I don't feel anxious at all. I come to work. I don't feel anxious. I go out. Whereas before, on the weekends, I would want to just stay home from Friday night to Monday morning. I was at home because going out, I couldn't handle it. Um, yeah, it's honestly, it's like I've done a complete 180.
Well, thank you for telling your story. Is there anything else you want to add to someone who's watching your story, feeling as bad as yourself, going, what can I do?
In all honesty, you need to give it a go. Um, I, I was at a state where I was sort of giving up on things because I didn't think anything would help. And this was literally my last shot. And to me, if it hadn't helped, I probably would have just given up and I would have ended up losing my job. And probably losing a lot of things, to be honest. So it, it does work. It does help. Obviously, it's not just eating differently. Um, it is pushing through the anxiety feelings and the anxious feelings, but the gut brain link obviously has a massive, massive impact, and our diet has a massive impact with that. So if anyone watches this thinking about whether they should do it, they should just take the leap and do it because it genuinely works and
Yeah,
helps.
it's not cheap because it's outside of the Medicare process. The
Yeah,
testing is not part of Medicare, and certainly all the stuff that you're taking and changing your diet. But has it been worth it?
it's been worth every dollar.
Again, it's not a sell
Honestly.
program, but yeah,
No,
it's
it's
something.
not. I'm not trying to sell it. And if anyone that knows me, I am not a salesman.
Me neither.
No, I'm not a salesman, but honestly, it has been worth every dollar. And I only wish I started it earlier because then I probably wouldn't have gotten as bad as I was.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for telling the story.
Uh,
Thank you for
All right,
sharing.
thank you. Thank you.